What are your plans for the off season and possibly playing or just doing individual workouts?
Yeah, I mean, probably take a little bit of a break here, just for maybe a week. I don't really want to lose a ton of the stuff I've worked on, and just trying to get my body back to full health.
The honeymoon phase is officially dead and buried in Indianapolis because the polite, humble rookie we saw smiling at the draft podium has allegedly been replaced by a ruthless competitor who understands exactly how much power she holds. And insiders are now whispering that Caitlin Clark has issued a silent ultimatum to the Fever front office that changes absolutely everything about the future of this franchise. We all watched what happened during the playoffs, seeing Clark get battered and bruised by the Connecticut Sun, while her team looked completely outmatched and unprepared for the moment. And it seems that sweep was the final straw that broke the camel's back, because the rumor mill is currently on fire with reports that Clark is demanding a massive roster overhaul, effectively telling management that she refuses to waste her prime years on a rebuilding project when she is already putting up MVP numbers. This isn't just about getting a few better role players or tweaking the bench rotation. This is about constructing a genuine super team in Indiana that can rival the New York Liberty and the Las Vegas Aces immediately. And the narrative has shifted from trust the process to win right now, with a speed that has caught everyone off guard. If you look closely at the moves the Fever have already made this offseason, the fingerprints of a superstar taking control are all over the crime scene, starting with a shocking exit that nobody saw coming unless they were paying attention to the sideline frustration all season long. The firing of Christy Sides was the first domino to fall, and it sent a shock wave through the league that proved nobody is safe if they aren't on Caitlin's timeline, because Sides took a team from the lottery to the playoffs, which usually earns a coach an extension, yet she was packed up and shipped out the moment the season ended. You have to ask yourself who benefits the most from this change, and the answer is obviously Clark, because the offense under Sides was often criticized for being stagnant and not utilizing Clark's range or passing ability to its full potential, often looking clunky and slow compared to the high-octane systems we see elsewhere. The arrival of Stephanie White isn't just a coaching upgrade. It feels like a calculated move to appease a franchise player who demands an offensive system that matches her basketball IQ. White is known for aggressive, fast-paced schemes that allow guards to flourish, which is exactly what Clark needs to unlock that next level of dominance. And this coaching switch screams of a front office that is terrified of upsetting their golden goose, essentially handing the keys to the franchise over to a second-year player. It's the kind of leverage we usually only see from veterans like LeBron James or Kevin Durant in the NBA, proving that Clark isn't just a participant in the WNBA anymore. She is the one dictating the economy and the strategy. But a new coach is just the beginning of the demands, and what happens next regarding the roster is going to be even more ruthless, because the most uncomfortable reality for the Fever right now is the situation with NaLyssa Smith. And the tension there has become so thick, you could cut it with a knife. Rumors have been swirling for months that Smith and Clark simply do not mesh on the court, or arguably off it, with body language during games showing a level of disconnect that championship teams simply don't have. Smith was supposed to be a cornerstone of this franchise, a former number 2 pick with immense talent, but the Caitlin Clark effect requires players who can run the floor, catch difficult passes, and space the floor, areas where Smith has struggled to adapt. And the speculation hit a fever pitch when Smith scrubbed the Fever from her social media bios and posted cryptic messages that sounded like farewell notes, leading many to believe she is being used as the primary trade chip to bring in a legitimate superstar. Clark needs a running mate who complements her style. Not one who clogs the paint and demands the ball in isolation. And the front office knows that they have to sacrifice good players to get great ones. So it looks like Smith is going to be the casualty of this new era. It's a harsh business, but Clark's demand for a super team means that feelings are going to get hurt, and fan favorites are going to get traded. However, shipping players out is the easy part. The real challenge is who they are trying to lure into Indianapolis to form this terrifying new dynasty. This brings us to the most terrifying prospect for the rest of the league, which is the free agency targets that are allegedly on the Fever's radar, and the name on everyone's lips is Satou Sabally, the unicorn from the Dallas Wings who can shoot, drive, and defend at an elite level. Sabally has been spotted interacting with Clark on social media in ways that have fans putting on their tinfoil hats, convinced that tampering is happening in plain sight. And imagine a pick-and-roll duo of Caitlin Clark and Satou Sabally. It would be virtually ungovernable for any defense in the league because you can't trap Clark if she has a 6'4" forward who can pop out and drain a three or drive to the rim. But it's not just Sabally. Rumors about Gabby Williams and other high-level defenders are circulating because Clark reportedly wants enforcers on her team. Players who won't let her get shoved around by the likes of DeJounte Carrington or Chennedy Carter without consequences. The days of Caitlin fighting her own battles are over if she gets her way, as she wants a squad that has her back physically and skill-wise, and the allure of playing with Clark is real. Players know that joining the Fever means charter flights, sold-out arenas every single night, and a massive spike in jersey sales and endorsement opportunities. Clark is essentially offering prospective teammates a stimulus package for their careers, and that is a bargaining chip that no other team in the WNBA can offer right now. We also have to talk about the Kelsey Mitchell situation because none of this super team talk matters if they lose their second-best scorer. Mitchell is an unrestricted free agent, meaning she can walk away for nothing, and losing her would be a catastrophic failure that would likely infuriate Clark, as Mitchell and Clark developed a chemistry in the second half of the season that was arguably the best backcourt duo in the league, combining for massive point totals and playing off each other's speed perfectly. The rumor is that Clark has made it crystal clear to management that Mitchell must be re-signed at any cost, even if it means maxing her out and limiting cap flexibility elsewhere. And this is the first test of the Clark GM era. Can she convince a veteran who has endured years of losing in Indiana to stay for the turnaround? If Mitchell walks, it signals that players don't believe in the vision. But if she stays, it confirms that the super team narrative is real and that players are buying into what Caitlin is building. The pressure on the front office is immense because they are negotiating with a gun to their head. They know that if they fumble this offseason, the frustration from their star player is going to spill over into the media. And speaking of the media, the reaction from the WNBA establishment to these rumors has been exactly what you would expect: pure salt. There is a growing resentment among the old guard of the WNBA regarding the influence Clark wields this early in her career, and we've seen the subtle jabs from legends like Cheryl Swoops and the dismissive attitudes from coaches like Cheryl Reeve during the Olympic selection process, but this offseason is taking the tension to a whole new level. The idea that a rookie could walk in and start demanding roster moves is offensive to the traditional hierarchy of the league, where you are supposed to pay your dues for years before you get a say in organizational direction. But Clark doesn't care about tradition. She cares about winning. The controversy here is palpable because the league has never seen a player with this much economic leverage. When Clark visits a city, the opposing team moves the game to a bigger arena and makes millions of dollars in one night. That gives her power that even Aja Wilson or Breanna Stewart don't fully possess. The haters are spinning this as Clark being a diva or entitled. But the reality is that she is simply using the modern athlete's playbook as she sees how the Aces built their squad and how the Liberty stacked their deck. And she is simply saying, why not me? The double standard is obvious, but it only fuels the fire for Clark to prove that she can build a winner in Indiana, a market that has been dormant for a decade. Let's dive deeper into the specific mechanics of how this super team could actually work on the floor. Because it's terrifying. If the Fever managed to offload Nalissa Smith for draft capital or a solid role player, re-sign Kelsey Mitchell, and land a big fish like Sabally, the spacing on the floor changes drastically. Last year, teams could blitz Clark because they didn't respect the other shooters enough, or they knew the post players couldn't punish them from deep. But with a legitimate stretch four and a secondary creator like Mitchell, the floor opens up, giving Clark lanes to drive that she never saw in her rookie year. This is about efficiency. Clark put up historic numbers while being the focal point of every defensive scheme, getting face-guarded 94 feet from the basket. So imagine what she does when defenses have to stay home on shooters in the corners. The Clark demands are actually just basketball common sense. She is demanding a modern NBA-style offense in the WNBA, and the pacing of the Fever is going to skyrocket under Stephanie White, likely becoming the fastest team in league history. They are trying to create the Golden State Warriors of the WNBA, and that requires very specific personnel that the current roster just didn't have. So this isn't just speculation. It's a tactical necessity if they want to get past the first round. There is also a darker side to these rumors involving the physical toll the season took on Caitlin, and part of the demand for a new team is allegedly centered around protection, because we all saw the cheap shots, the hip checks, and the eye pokes that went uncalled or were flagged as common fouls. There is a belief within Clark's camp that the Fever were too soft last year, allowing teams to bully their star without any retaliation. So the recruitment of an enforcer-type player is high on the priority list. They need a Draymond Green type, someone who doesn't care about stats, but cares about making sure nobody touches the franchise player without paying a price. And this is a controversial element because the league is trying to market itself as skilled and family-friendly. But the reality of the WNBA is that it is incredibly physical and often dirty. Clark is reportedly tired of taking the high road and getting beaten up for it, so she wants teammates who have a mean streak. And this shift in mentality from happy to be here to we are coming for your heads is the biggest indicator that Clark is maturing into a killer on the court, because she realized that being nice doesn't win championships, and she is done being the league's punching bag. However, the risk factor here is massive, because we have seen super teams fail spectacularly in sports history when the chemistry isn't right. The Brooklyn Nets in the NBA are a prime example of what happens when you let stars dictate everything. It can implode. If the Fever mortgage their future, trade away young assets, and cap themselves out for veterans who don't mesh, it could set the franchise back 5 years. And there is also the pressure it places on Clark herself. If the front office gives her everything she wants, the coach, the free agents, the trades, and they still lose, then the blame falls squarely on her shoulders, and there are no more excuses about it's a rebuilding year or she's just a rookie. The moment this super team is formed, the expectation becomes championship or bust, and the critics who are waiting for her to fail will have all the ammunition they need if this experiment goes south. It's a high-stakes gamble, but Clark has never been one to shy away from a heavy workload or high expectations, and she seems to thrive when the lights are brightest. So building a team in her image is the ultimate test of her greatness. One major element flying under the radar is the Aaliyah-Boston connection. In all this talk about trades and new signings, Boston's role is shifting, as she is a former #1 pick and Rookie of the Year herself. But she is being asked to adapt to Clark's world. The rumors suggest Boston is fully on board, understanding that her efficiency goes up when Clark is running the show. But there is always a danger of ego clashes when you have too many alphas in one locker room. The new super team demands require Boston to be the anchor, while Clark and the new additions take the spotlight on the perimeter. And so far, Boston and Clark seem to be best friends. But winning cures everything, and losing exposes cracks. The management has to ensure that while they are catering to Clark, they aren't alienating Boston, who is a generational talent in her own right. And the balancing act the Fever front office has to perform this offseason is worthy of a circus act, because they have to satisfy the demands of the most popular player on the planet, while keeping the locker room culture healthy and financially compliant. It is a nightmare scenario for a GM, but it's the kind of problem every other team wishes they had. Let's not forget the timing of all this, because the WNBA is expanding. The Golden State Valkyries are coming, and there are expansion drafts looming. And Clark knows the landscape of the league is about to get more competitive, not less. By demanding her super team now, she is trying to lock in a core group before the talent pool gets diluted by expansion teams poaching players. And it's a 4D chess move because she wants to secure her dynasty before the new franchises can get their footing. This level of foresight is rare for a player her age, further fueling the shadow GM theories, showing she isn't just looking at next season. She is looking at the next 5 years. The urgency comes from the knowledge that the Aces and Liberty aren't going anywhere. A'ja Wilson is in her prime. Breanna Stewart is in her prime. And to beat them, you have to match their firepower. Clark looked at the box scores from the playoffs, saw she was the only one creating offense consistently, and said, "Never again." So the ruthless nature of her demands is simply a reaction to the level. They are trying to create the Golden State Warriors of the WNBA.